5. Touchdown Lone Star Bo Martin Jr. with the pick 6.
And welcome everybody to this week's edition of SFL Crunch Time. I'm Ethan Muslin. That guy over there, that's Josh Zirkle. Josh, we've got a great bunch of games to recap, especially those Sioux Falls Stars we talked about a couple weeks ago. They just ran roughshod on the Beltway this week.
Yeah, absolutely crazy developments. A lot of wild results. Queen City and Arizona had a slugfest of their own. Let's get into all what happened in the league, starting with around the league. And we begin our Cliff Notes, if you will, version of the highlights. In Arizona, Cliff Allen has his field goal blocked. Queen City has a chance to win the game with 1:41 remaining. They managed to drive down the field thanks to 2 Chris Komisak catches. And what would be a game-winning drive, Judah Dorgan here boots it through as time is running off the clock. Queen City steals a game on the road, 33-31, your final. Out of the Copper State, Charleston heading to Tulsa now. Corey Jones only to be outdone by Corey Jones. He had 4 catches on the day. 2 of them went for touchdowns, and you just watched both of them at the same time. That gives Corey Jones 8 touchdowns on the season. That puts him in a tie for the league lead on the SFL leaderboard. Travis Arthur picks up the deflected ball here and is able to run it back. Tulsa knocking off Charleston 31-17. Denver going across the pond to face the Knights, and they needed to call this game Stefan because it had everything. A blocked punt, a blocked extra point, a one-handed interception. That's Isaiah King III bringing that one in. A two-handed interception. That's Anthony Wyo. He had 3 picks on the day, and a pick 6. This is Nick Kindler taking this one back to sender, but it was London that came out on top, 36-28. Knights hold serve at home. Mexico City going to Portland. Portland still looking for their first win. And here's a strong start with Ezekiel Love cashing in the red zone. The Fleet led the Aztecs 20-7 at the half, but Matt Wilson, the Hall of Famer, came back. Here's Mike Daggs with a secure ball rating of approximately 50 kajillion, holding that ball with both hands on his way to the end zone. Mexico City prevails in Oregon. Fort Worth taking on the Vancouver Legion. The Legion is hot as any other team in the SFL right now. Here's the Sundance kid, Robert Redford, with a gentle spike. Fort Worth, though, trying to answer. Cade Stevens carries 2 Vancouver defenders into the end zone to make it a 1-score game. They needed the onside kick. The Toros would not get it. Vancouver survives 30-24. Lone Star facing Los Angeles. The Lycans saw 2 big plays from Lone Star. Bo Martin Jr. top of your screen with a pick 6, and Greg Soto with a 102-yard kick return touchdown. Big plays, the name of the game, not to mention special teams, but LA still had a chance to win on the last play of the game, but Bo Martin Jr. knocks it away. Lone Star comes out on top 27-23.
All right, enough stalling. Let's get to this matchup between Sioux Falls and DC. There's an MVP candidate right there, and Kevin Say. And he'll say, I'm going to go in the end zone right now. And he punches that in for a quick touchdown, giving DC a 7-0 lead. Now 7-3 in the second quarter. Sebastian Synergy gets intercepted by Nathan Barnett. Not a good day to be Shabazz Synergy. That would be his first one of the day, and there'll be a little more coming down the line later. Julian Tyree on a nice 50-50 ball. That's a touchdown to Kai Marion. And she had herself a pretty good day, and I'm sure I'll remember who's who at this point. Synergy now in the second quarter. Trying to get a good pass here, but it's fumbled and given away. Gus Scott could not hold on to it, and it's recovered by Ernest McCrae Sr. Flopped it and said, okay, I'll take it, and I'm just going to try to run it back, and he could not run it back. But GP Wells would cover it, and he would take it into the end zone for the score. That would make it a 17-7 ball game. In the third quarter, GP Wells again with a beautiful spin move, cuts it loose, and he is gone. 42 yards to the house. He goes to the touchdown. That would make it 24-7. in favor of Sioux Falls. A few minutes to go here in the third, and this pass intercepted. That was Sabah Synergy's third interception of the day, caught there by Nick Fargo. This Sioux Falls defense has been really, really good. Then on the punt, Kanye Rockefeller taking it from his own 50, cuts loose to the left side. He thinks he's going to get himself a touchdown. Beautiful blockage there. Goes in for the score, but hold everything. Hold the phone, because there was a penalty on that play, and yeah, that's going to get called back for a hold. Unfortunate. Would be called on number 26 for the defensive holding. Was not a good thing to do when you have a touchdown. Let's have a look at that once again. I'm going to see here, there's the block, and there's the hold. Yeah, that's a no-no in this league and anything. But Kevin Say would respond and say, you know what, I'm going to put it in the end zone anyway. He puts it in for the score, and that would put DC back to within 2 scores. On the ensuing kickoff, AJ Levy from his own goal line gets popped, ball comes out, and DC falls on it for the recovery. Great job on the DC special teams. They've been having themselves a good day, and the bad day with the penalty, but that's neither here nor there. And you can see here, Levy going up the middle. Probably should have cut around to the side, but that ball just popped right out of his arms. With 2:38 to go in the third, this pass complete and off to the races for the touchdown. Oh, that was Lauren Prococo. She had herself a good day. 8 receptions for 87 yards. So with it 24-21, Sioux Falls would answer back with a touchdown of their own. And that was to Josh Gill. Excuse me, no, that's Kay Marion's second touchdown of the day. I'm spoiling things, aren't I? That is Josh Gill, who's trying to get himself for a touchdown. But another penalty would be called, and it would be holding on the offensive line. That would negate the touchdown once again. But DC would not go quietly. Synergy now with 5 wide with 5 minutes to go in the quarter. Throws the deep ball. Josh Gill gets to the 3-yard line. Couldn't get the score, but gets pretty close to give DC a chance to score. Then on 4th and goal from the goal line, trying to make it a 1-score game. The screen pass to Say is caught, but it is caught in the backfield. Tackled there by by Terrell Davis. That would give Sioux Falls the win, 31-21. And talking about this Sioux Falls defense, everyone's been saying that this team may be a little bit underrated, and I think the thoughts are absolutely valid. You see here, they are tied with Louisiana in takeaways for number 1 in the league. They are tied for pass touchdowns allowed with 13. The only real difference comes down to third down conversions. Sioux Falls is last in the league with 71% conversion allow, but Louisiana with 48%. If Sioux Falls can really do a good job to notch that down a little bit, we might be looking at some Sioux Falls stars making the playoffs.
Louisiana has not lost a game since January 29th. Could they keep it going against Carolina? Otis Boudreaux's field goal attempt is blocked, and that is Boudreaux's first miss of the season. Oh, the humanity, he can't believe it. Matt South, and Carolina would look to answer, but South is going to find Tank Bennett with that pass. The Federal Bureau of Interceptions strikes again. And South actually got in there on the tackle. Louisiana's going to get the ball back, and South is angry. Tommy Utah in the red zone getting it done. B. Robo with a catch and run from short yardage. Louisiana starting to roll. It's a 2-score lead, and the fans love it. They're going crazy in the swamp. And now 13-0 here. Matt South is picked off again, this time by Mike Ryan. And Ryan now has an interception in every game the Revs have played so far in Season 18. Take another look. He's staring Matt South down the whole way. He gets a modest return there. South, though, would keep slinging it. And Harish Prasad would be the beneficiary as he runs 66 yards for the touchdown. Matt South trying to get his team back into it. Finds Sam Avalos, and Avalos pays for it, but hangs on to the ball, and Carolina's got another touchdown. But it's late in the game, and they're going to need an onside kick here. The onside kick would fail. Louisiana would hang on. 22-14 your final. The Revs have won 4 in a row.
We've got more crunch time coming up after the break, including, can Portland win their first game? And if so, is it now? Portland looking to get their first win of the season. They'd have a good shot at it with the opening kickoff. Leo Morris going to take it right here at the goal line. Going to run up the middle to the 20, cuts to the left, shakes one, and then he is off to the races. And you see there Jeffrey Daggs trying to catch up. He's sprinting. He's trying to get him, but it's just too late. Leo Morris goes 100 yards for the touchdown and make it 7-0. Cole Varner from 51 yards out just missed it. He hooked it around the left. Could not get it. Portland now up 10-0. Minute to go in the first quarter, and Phoenix Jones is gone. He goes to the house for the touchdown. That would be a 35-yard run to make it 13-7 now. A minute and change to go in the half. This pass intercepted by Bob Funk. That would be one of 2 Matt Wilson interceptions for the day. Funk having himself a good time. Now with this minute to go in the half, it's just a great run there for the touchdown by Ezekiel Love. But Mexico is not out of it yet. Here was the touchdown to Bill Henry, getting himself a score. That would close the gap to 20-14. Mexico would then keep moving with about a minute to go here in the third. Big touchdown pass to Jason Bartley. That'd give Mexico City a 1-point lead. Then with a minute in the into the fourth quarter, and that is Mike Daggs holding on, and he is gone. He goes 63 yards for the touchdown. Take another look at this here. Big throw down the middle. He was wide open. No one around him. Portland still looking for their first win. They fall 31-20.
Joining us once again, the editor-in-chief of Swamp Talk and the Louisiana Revolution GM, the red-hot Louisiana Revolution, Ross Napoli. Ross, thanks again for joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
You mentioned Swamp Talk. You broke a little bit of news in there. Mark Chisholm, the Atlanta Swarm head coach, has stepped away from offensive coordinator duties. Those are going to be handled by strong safety Chris Henry for the rest of the season. A bit of a surprise there. In a sense, Atlanta's offense has been struggling, but what prompted them to finally make the change that you saw?
From what I'm getting from the conversation that I had over there, it was more or less it was time to make some sort of a change to kind of spark something. I get the feeling that it's a temporary basis. Try to see how the rest of the season goes, see if a spark can be made or if there's any sort of change in philosophy, possibly. But I think that it's more of a, hey, let's not lose the season right now. If there could be a little bit of spark, obviously they're a championship winning organization. I know Mark is going to try everything possible to get that team back on the winning track. So it just sounds like they're looking to take advantage of something that they may have in Chris Henry, and they're going to see how the rest of the season goes.
And there has been another change, a change this time in Baltimore. Jimmy Hazard, who we've discussed on this show more than once, is finally out. Murray, the former Houston Hyena, is in. What can you tell me about Warren Murray, as I look at my notes over here? Warren Murray.
Well, I reached out to Warren as soon as he came back. I welcomed him back to the league and wanted to know exactly how this all came about. He did let me know that obviously he wasn't necessarily looking to leave the SFL at the end of last season. Some personal stuff, a death in the family. He needed to take a step back. It sounds like it was always the intention to come back. He just didn't know exactly when that time frame may be. And I think the opening in Baltimore and knowing that he wouldn't have to sit out the whole full season and maybe having that little bit of an itch to come back was really a welcome opportunity. So, in speaking with him, I asked him if this could necessarily be a permanent destination for him. And he said he basically has to take it and see if he's a good fit for the team. Clearly, Murray is an excellent running back. He's got an established resume in this league. So I can see why Baltimore would want to fill the hole of replacing Jimmy Hazard with such a high-valued guy. As we addressed earlier a couple of weeks ago, Jimmy Hazard was going to stay on that team because there was no Jimmy Hazard in the minors right now. So you'd rather go with a non-progressing Jimmy Hazard in your backfield. And oddly enough, his last game as a Baltimore Vulture, he went over 100 rushing yards and had quite a game, but it looked like they already had it in place for Warren Murray to be their guy the following week. The interesting point that I want to bring up there is also we had reached out to Houston to ask them about their feelings about Warren Murray coming back. And it was known to us also in the paper last week that Houston is still very high on Warren Murray. And that the intention was always to bring Warren Murray back to Houston in the event that he was to come back to the league. So I know that Houston is looking for a little bit of a reunion there if Warren Murray is interested in that, if there isn't a fit in Baltimore. So it begs the question, is the phenom rookie Brad Jones a one and done in Houston if there is mutual interest between a Houston Hyena Warren Murray reunion?
That would be astounding, especially the way that Jones has been playing the past couple of games. To your team, the Louisiana Revolution, and your former number one overall, Mike Ryan. He had an interception in this past game, and that puts him in rarefied air, as Cameron Irvine would say. He's had a pick every game this season and has a streak going all the way back to last season. And I don't know what the exact number is. I'm sure you're going to remind us in a second. But how do you compare that streak to other things happening, not only in the SFL, but in other sports?
No, it's rare, as you said. So the streak is 9 consecutive games, the last 2 of last year and every game this year. I do think that it is a very rare thing in our league. I reached out to the league to find out if it was an SFL record, and it's not a streak that the league actually keeps track of. So it would be something that either myself or someone in the organization is going to have to go back and do some extensive research on some of the top interception guys in previous seasons and then kind of go games one by one. But we definitely knew that this was a franchise record probably weeks ago. You know, the Louisiana or the New Orleans franchise has never had somebody go the consecutive amount of games like this. And the way that he's playing, I think he's going to extend to it. And I think it's going to be the barometer in today's SFL for these guys who get a lot of interceptions, that Mike Ryan is setting the stage for, you know, what the bar needs to be when you're getting into those consecutive games with interceptions and what, you know, he's on the verge of tying or breaking the franchise record with interceptions in a season. And we believe that he's really on his way to solidify himself as one of the top defensive backs in this league. And we're happy to have him.
I would imagine you are. Ross Napoli, editor of Swamp Talk. That comes out every week. And also he stops by to see us on Crunch Time every week as well. Ross, thanks for your time so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks again, Josh.
Coming up after the break, Mike St. Green will be talking about who's hot, who's cold, and what else is cooking in the SFL kitchen. Plus, Brett Solberg will tell us the playoff picture. More Crunch Time coming up.
Queen City heading to the Copper State. Arizona on a 2-game win streak. Let's get stingy. Ryan Owens has been a big part of this Arizona offense so far in season 18. Jet Zero, he's been a big part of offense as well. And look at him go. 77 yards. He is off to the races. Gonzo. Queen City gets on the board first. And it was up to Arizona to answer. And answer they did not, at least not on that play. Ted Haynes comes up with a big pick in the red zone. You flex, Ted Haynes. You show some exuberance. Going up, and away to beat Connor Weston out of that ball. And Jet Zero is getting ready to have a monster game. Another long strike, and Jet Zero is gone. Another run from his own side of the field that ends in the end zone. And when Arizona fall into that good night, Queen City back on top. It would be 17-10 after the extra point. Ashley Jackson, though, dealing. Ryan Owens making a big catch there, and Owens is into the end zone, beating the defense, and we are knotted at 17 apiece. AJ Caswell looking to answer, finds Doug Spelling, one of the great young wide receivers in this league. And Spelling gets a first down. Judah Dorgan from 45 yards. Spot is down, kick is up, and that is good. And Queen City would take the lead. It's 2017. Judah Dorgan showing some exuberance of his own there. Arizona this time, Connor Weston. And Weston is going to have a big strike and get his team into the red zone late in the third quarter. And Weston is fired up. Everybody's getting fired up in this game. DJ Moses, goal to go. Goal is gone. Moses into the end zone. Arizona retakes the lead. It's 24-20. And here comes King Jamal picking off Ashley Jackson. And King Jamal returning to his kingdom, being the end zone. And that's another Queen City lead. Ashley Jackson, though, not done yet. Would find her receiver. That is Will Todd getting into the end zone. Will Todd has a touchdown, and now the Scorpions are back on top. It's 31-27. Caswell throwing, finds Spelling, and Spelling's going to get into plus territory. Down at the 33-yard line with less than 6 minutes remaining. And Dorgan now from 45 yards on the left hash will get it done again, and it's a one-score game. Dorgan knows he's going to be called upon later should the situation arise. Ashley Jackson hoping it does not. Will Todd has a first down, and they're going to try to kill some clock. Queen City has to call timeout. Queen City out of timeouts here. And Cliff Allen has his field goal blocked, and Queen City showing signs of life with less than 2 minutes remaining. And Allen cannot believe it. Hey, you can't block and kick at the same time, Cliff. Caswell would find Chris Komisak. Been moonlighting as a receiver for Queen City these days. And then down again for the first down. And so it comes down to Dorgan. Time running off. 2 seconds, 1 second. Dorgan puts it up, and it is good. A walk-off field goal for Judah Dorgan and the Queen City Corsairs, getting it done on the road, 33-31, your final. And once again, we are back in the kitchen with London wide receiver, SFL studio analyst, and accomplished chef Mike St. Green. Mike, thanks for coming back. How are you, sir?
Hey, good to be back, Josh. Good, always good to be on with you when we want to stir up a few things again.
We're going to stir it up. We're going to find out what's sizzling. And first of all, let's talk about who's done in the SFL. Mike, who do you have for us off the bat?
And this team, Josh, they're no surprise. They've been done for many, many seasons, and this season they're continuing to do what they typically always seem to do. And we're talking about the Vancouver Legion. Andy Hamilton's doing another great job over there with them this season. 6-1 on the season thus far. Won the last 3 in a row, and they're doing the things that we typically expect from them. They're second in the league in scoring offense with 232 points per game, and then not only that, their defense is playing real well. They're right towards the top of the league and points allowed, but the Vancouver Legion, they're looking like a complete team right now.
Yeah, complete team, absolutely, from top to bottom. Who might be incomplete, though, Mike? Who do you think needs a little more cooking, a little more time in the oven?
I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Kings. I mean, they're 4-2. They win one, they lose one. They win one, they lose one. Obviously, the record is great. That right now they're one of the few teams with a winning record in the league right now, but I want to see a little bit more from him. Marcus Dunhill in his second season back after a couple of seasons off, he's looking a little better. And that Jacksonville defense, they're playing well also, Josh, but I want to see a little bit more from them. I want to see a little bit more consistency on offense. But Jacksonville, hey, they missed the playoffs last season for the first time in a long time, and they're looking to get back, and I want to see a little bit more from them before I can say they're ready to take that next step.
Yeah, you're not the only one, Mike. I think that is a strong team that could stand to be a little more consistent week in and week out. Let's talk about somebody who maybe hasn't been on the shelf for too long. I mean, fresh ingredients here, Mike. Who do you have that's feeling fresh right now in the SFL?
Well, I'll tell you who caught my eye this weekend, and who's and looking at her stats, she's been pretty solid all season long, and a name that a lot of people don't don't get to hear very often. But Kay Marion's doing a great job over there in Sioux Falls. Had an excellent game going against an old team in DC this past weekend. A couple of touchdown receptions over there, but she's having an excellent season. 32 catches, 656 yards. But here's the big stat for her: she's a big player, averaging over 20 yards per reception. So a big target over there for Sioux Falls, and she's a huge reason why these guys are 4-3 right now.
Yeah, and I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago where Kay had only one catch, but that catch went 97 yards for a touchdown. She is finding a way to make big plays. Who might be a secret sauce, Mike, in terms of the SFL? I mean, I think I do a good job of finding out who's hot around the league, but enlighten us, who's maybe somebody we haven't heard about?
Well, you've heard about this guy, but he does have the sauce. Look, hey, I just took a trip to Belize.
Ooh, look at that.
I got him some habanero pepper sauce, and this guy's hot right
Very
now.
nice.
I'm an number one overall pick, and I'm going to go with none other than Mike Ryan. He has 9 interceptions on the season. He's leading the league right now, and more importantly, he's not doing it in bunches. He's getting 1 per game, and he has 9 in a row right now, and that set a Louisiana Revolution record for consecutive games with a pick. And Mike Ryan, yeah, he's not a secret sauce, but he's definitely hot.
And a guy who's made his teammates better as well. I mean, Tank Bennett and Evan Arthur, great players. But they're playing exceptionally well also. And that whole Federal Bureau of Interceptions, a fantastic nickname as far in any walk of life, especially in the SFL. Mike St. Green, fresh off vacation, back to the salt mines here in the SFL, and we got him here on Crunch Time. Mike, thanks for the time. Great to see you again.
Hey, good to be here, Josh.
When we come back, we'll take a look at Denver at London. Would Eric Price be right, or would he be overbidding? More Crunch Time coming up.
Charleston taking a 4-game win streak into Oklahoma, facing the Tulsa Desperados. What kind of game would Corey Jones have? Here's a pretty good indication right there. An early strike. It's a 56-yard score from JQ to Corey Jones. And Jones is going to accumulate the late hit there from Josh Reese. Taking out a little grumpiness on his opponent. Kentez Johnson would answer. This is Lyric Da Vinci, who breaks a tackle on his way to the end zone. A 77-yard strike. And I wonder if anybody's going to want to play defense today. Kentez Johnson would soon find out. Ken McCarro going up, and away over Jacob Clear. All the way into the end zone. Take another look at it. A great leaping grab and double coverage. And he is off to the promised land. JQ would throw it here. Corey Jones has it. Corey Jones doesn't have it. It's a fumble, and Charleston recovers, but there's a flag on the play. R62's got to get this sorted out. Jacob Clear made the recovery, or did he? It's a face mask against Charleston, and that will negate the fumble, and Tulsa's going to get another crack at it. You see it was Gabriel Manning, actually, on the fumble before Charleston recovers. JQ will throw it, and he's intercepted. It's Eric Hammer. And Hammer gets a decent return here, but hold the phone, hold your horses, hold a green pail of milk, another penalty, this time roughing the passer on Charleston, and that turnover is negated as well. Tulsa would continue to drive all the way down inside the 5, and then score on this Gabriel Manning catch. He broke the plane, and Tulsa survives 2 turnovers to knot this at 14, but they were not finished. Corey Jones again from long distance, this time from 62 yards, and Tulsa takes the lead 21-14. And then Douglas Brown, probably the front runner in terms of offensive rookie of the year, and he is gone. A tremendous run, 56 yards. 44 yards, started in Charleston territory. And Tulsa would be running away with it from there. Douglas Brown, an outstanding day for the rookie. Wants to take another look at it, this time from the end zone camera. 125 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Tulsa getting it done, 31-17. Your final.
Denver had been going win-loss the past couple weeks, hoping to keep that up into the win column this week in London, and it started with a blocked punt on London's first possession. That would be a great start for the Night Wings. And they would start at the London 12, and then the very next play, Bailey O'Shaughnessy going to the left side. He is gone, gets the touchdown. That would put Denver up 7-0. Then a couple minutes later in the first quarter, that pass to Vincalia caught for the touchdown. That would put London on the board. But on the ensuing extra point, a little trouble on the line, and it ends up getting into a block. And that would only give Denver a 1-point lead. Then with a minute and change, Eric Price with the tiptoe catch to Logan Keel. He gets the score. That would put Denver up by 8. Going into the second quarter, Johnny Pickler going to throw one to the left. Caught by Vincalia, who got in and back into the end zone for that touchdown. That would put London back into the thick of it. And you see here the catch caught in the end zone, but he stepped out, so he had to get back in to score, and he got it. Now 16-14 in favor of London. Pass here from Price is intercepted by Anthony Weil. Gets London back into the hunt. And then another interception. This one a beautiful catch by Isaiah King III. Up there just getting it one-handed. That's just an amazing one. We'll take another look at this. You see Pickler throwing the deep ball, but oh my goodness. King just going up there, just grabbing it with one hand. It's a beautiful sight. Couple minutes to go here in the first half, and London's going to get the ball right back as Emmanuel Blackman gets that ball and brings it back into London hands. They take it up at the 18 couple plays later. Over to the right side, Robert Merrill going to shoot and jive and get his way into the end zone for the score. And make it up to 23-14 for London. Then with a minute to go in the half, Eric Price trying to get back into the thick of it for Denver, but it's caught back for another interception. That'd be Anthony Weil's second, and Eric Price would have 4 of those picks on the day. Then in the third quarter, Mike St. Green with the deep ball. He's gone for the touchdown for 57 yards. That effectively put the dagger in there, and London puts the win on Denver 36-28.
Coming up next, highlights from Lone Star at Los Angeles. Would Sully Richardson get his Hollywood ending? Find out when Crunch Time comes back. There were 11 teams in the SFL that were 3-3 heading into Week 8, but only 2 of them played each other. It was these 2. Lone Star at Los Angeles, and Bo Martin Jr. for Lone Star is going to get the party started early with a pick 6 of Sully Richardson. And the Glory jump out to a 7-3 lead. Richardson would try to answer, throwing to his right this time. And Mickey McGuire is there with a leaping takeaway from Davius Reed. The Glory come up with 2 big turnovers to start this party. James Troll would kick it from 50 yards, and that'll be significant later in the game. Lone Star's up 10-3. The Lycans looking to answer. Chris Lee finds the end zone. And we are knotted at 10 apiece. The Lycans looking to add 1 at the half. And they do. Jack Flash with the out route in the end zone. It's a 6-point lead with an extra point to come. And the extra point is blocked. Lone Star comes up with another big play. And the lead is only 6 now for LA. Ike McBride will get blasted by Kevin Brackett here in the third quarter, but she gets the first down and shows Kevin, look, I got the first down. What do you think of that? Ace Fennick now in the red zone, dealing to his right side, and Adam Williams, they say he broke the plane, gets in for the score, and it's a 1-point lead for Lone Star. But Rojo, Robert Johnson, breaks a tackle and gets into Lone Star territory. Coming up with a big play there, right when his team needs him. And now Richardson in the red zone this time finds Tommy Rahman, and Rahman is in there for the score, and LA retakes the lead. It's 23-17 with just over a quarter to play. But Greg Soto, from 3 yards deep in his own end zone, gets through the pile, gets out to the left sideline. Rob Adams cannot reach him, and it's going to be a coast-to-coast kick return touchdown for Dave Soto. 102 yards, and Lone Star retakes the lead in dramatic fashion. And look at Rob Adams, who got laid out on the blocking from the special teams and cannot get up in time to chase Soto down the field. Special teams coming up huge once again for the Lone Star Glory, looking to improve to 4-3 on the year. And another big special teams play here. James Troll from 50 yards again, kicking from the same side of the field as he did in the first half, and that is good. And now it's a 4-point lead, and LA needs a touchdown to win. A field goal does them no good. But Sully Richardson starts the drive down the field. Davius Reed making a catch there to get them in the red zone. 2 seconds remaining, throwing to the end zone. And Bo Martin Jr., who had the pick six earlier, comes away with the game-winning deflection. Lone Star survives in LA. And now that we're past the midway point of the season, time to look at the SFL playoff picture. And to help us with that, Brett Solberg, SFL broadcaster, and also his avatar, Brett Killian, wide receiver for the Vancouver Legion. Brett, great to have you. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm feeling good today. I'm ready to analyze these teams like no one else can.
We're very excited to have you as well. And let's start with our first team, DC. The Dragons 5-2 right now, but they've lost 2 of their last 3, cooling off a little bit after their hot start. Do the Dragons get into the playoffs here in season 18?
You know, DC is a very interesting team to look at. Like, I don't think anybody expected them to be at 5-2 at this point of the season, considering that they've had back-to-back 3-9 outings over the last couple seasons. And this is their 3rd season coming back after a long hiatus from the league. And they're a game and a half back of Baltimore right now in the North Division, which it's always tough to beat Baltimore. But right now, they are just deadly on the run. So if nobody can stop Kevin Say, who has just been grinding it down there, getting close to 1,100 yards so far this season. He's got 16 all-purpose touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. He's just been absolutely dominant through this. If nobody can stop him, then DC has an easy way to the playoffs. They'll be at least an 8 or 9 seed, I would say, for sure.
Another team, Brett, that has a high-profile running back, rookie Douglas Brown, talking about Tulsa here. And they had a slow start, but they've won 4 of their last 5. Do you think the Desperados have what it takes after finishing with the worst record of season 17 of making the playoffs in season 18?
Yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround for this Tulsa squad. Just fine tweaking, having a dynamic running back like Douglas Brown, who's starting to get used to things here in the SFL level as well. He's starting to make a bigger impact, and he's really becoming a big profile for this Tulsa squad. But the issues that I have with it is that they play this very tough East Division that has Louisiana, and you can never count out a team like Atlanta, even though they're 3-3. Right now, my issue is that I don't think they score enough to be a playoff team right now. So for the moment, they might have a good record, but I think that down the stretch, they might lose some key games, and they're going to be probably that first team out if we're going into tiebreakers and stuff like that.
Very interesting pick there. Let's go to Queen City, another team with a high-profile running back in Jet Zero. He had himself a great week. They're 3-4, and they've been sort of mercurial, I think. They've had some strong special teams performances. They did beat Arizona this past week, and they have a win against Mexico City, who always seems to be in the playoffs. What are your thoughts about the Corsairs making the postseason?
Yeah, they've made some high-profile victories so far, but here's the catch out of all this. They're still last in the North at 3-4. They're still behind London, and they're still behind DC and Baltimore. So those are the teams that they need to climb up first with that. But right now, I think my issue is that they have this bend, don't break style kind of defense, and it's really hampering them because the offense can't really step up. There's still a negative when it comes to points for and points against. So if they can get back to the positive, they have a chance. But for right now, they're going to be out as well.
All right. Mexico City, we mentioned they're losing to Queen City. The Aztecs themselves, though, they're sitting on a winning record right now. They're 4-3. They've won their last 2. And Matt Wilson in this passing attack for the Aztecs really seemed to have come alive in the past couple of weeks. Coming from behind to win their game this past week. What are your thoughts on the Aztecs making the postseason?
I mean, when you think of the playoffs, you think Mexico City. And right now, I think for them, now they're starting to roll a little bit now. They've won 2 in a row here. They're starting to pick it up defensively a little bit here. They're making key moments. Their net points, I think, in opposition to Queen City, I don't think that represents their team completely, because I think they're very much a second half kind of season squad. You see that a lot with Mexico City, and they end up having a very, very good record. And usually they either are very close to winning their own division or being around second place. So I can never count out Mexico City when it comes to playoff scenarios, especially 7 games out of 12 through. So for me right now, they're at least wild card team. They're in.
All right, fair enough. And we go from a team with a Hall of Fame quarterback to a team with a new quarterback, Charleston, 1-1 right now with new QB Quintez Johnson, and they just saw a 4-game winning streak snapped this past weekend. Do the Predators get in, Brett?
Well, they're going to have a tough road ahead of them coming up. Their next game is going to be against Louisiana. But the one thing that I've noticed from this squad is they're probably one of the best defensive teams in the SFL right now. They know how to lock down quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and everything of the sort. And it feels like even with Quintez Johnson in the fold, just coming in halfway through the season, they're going to score enough points to counteract their defense. So for me right now, even though they're currently second in their division, the Atlantic, behind Jacksonville, I think they're actually a little bit better than Jacksonville. So I think they have the capability of winning their division and possibly getting into a bye week in the playoffs if they continue playing as defensively sound as they have over this course of the season.
Brett Solberg, SFL broadcaster, and now Crunch Time analyst. Brett, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
And Brett Solberg's avatar, Brett Killian, was in action against Fort Worth. Would the Legion get it done and improve their record to 6-1? Find out when Crunch Time continues.
Over to Lion Country, where the Vancouver Legion hosting the Fort Worth Toros. Late in the second quarter, Vancouver up 20-0. Fort Worth would finally get on the board with a Robert Garrett Jr. touchdown right down the middle. It was a beautiful sight to see. They would make it 20-7. Then halfway through the third, Emilio Rose from 50 yards out puts it up, puts it through, made it a 10-point game. Fort Worth was starting to make the comeback. Then this huge interception from Adam Leach, one of Tom Pepper's 2 picks on the day. That kept Fort Worth in the hunt. And now Jason Williams going to the right side, shakes 1 tackle, and has to be double-teamed at the 8-yard line. That would bring up 1st and goal for the Toros. They look to be hoping to get themselves a second win, and then up the middle for Williams. He finishes the job, gets the touchdown. That would put Fort Worth within 3. Into the fourth quarter, Pepper's going to throw down the middle. There was the second interception to Delaney Nash. That gave Fort Worth a good chance, but Johnny Reno, the rookie, having himself a good year, but this was not what you wanted to see out of him. That was his 3rd interception on the day, caught there by Major Key to bring it up to midfield. Then with minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Robert Redford looks to have iced the game with the touchdown and make it 30-17, but Fort Worth was not out of it yet. This beautiful one-handed catch by Twin Screw to keep Fort Worth inside the red zone. And then it was Reno to the right side for the touchdown for Cade Stevens. That brought it 30-24. It all come down to the onside kick, but it wasn't going to happen. Vancouver's won 3 straight. They beat Fort Worth 30-24.
Coming up, the commish, Cameron Irvine and Mike St. Green hand out some props. Game balls for week 8 right after this. More Crunch Time coming up.
Game balls, Mike St. Green, week number 8. Who you got?
Cam, I'm back with game balls after a little small hiatus, but GP Wells gets my first game ball, 206 all-purpose yards, a couple of touchdowns, 1 in the air, 1 on the ground, and GP, he's a huge reason why the Sioux Falls Sparrows have bounced back this season and have a winning record at this point of the year.
Yeah, GP has been phenomenal. He has almost as many receptions as he does carries. Sioux Falls is back as long as GP is uncontained, which he has been over the last month or so. That's a good one. I'm going to start on the defensive side of the ball, Mike, and I'm going to go Dexter Jackson of Mexico City. You know, in that game, which Portland looked like they were going to win for 3.5 quarters of that game, but Ezekiel Love held to 24 carries for 89 yards. That's it. Not much, and that was a big part due to Dexter Jackson, who had 15 total tackles. He had a tackle for loss, a pass deflection. He was everywhere. Mexico City did a really good job shutting him down, and after Portland built that lead, Portland couldn't keep that lead because they couldn't get first downs with Ezekiel Love. Dexter Jackson, nice job, gets a game ball.
Yeah, definitely. Great job by Dexter Jackson and the Mexico City defense as a whole. As you mentioned, holding Ezekiel Love under 100, and they really caused the quarterback over there, O.J. Bruin, to struggle all game long. So, yeah, but great performance by him. Well-deserved game ball.
All right, who's next, Mike?
I'm going to stay in the offensive backfield, Cam, and I've been waiting on this guy all season long. The team, they invested heavily in offensive line, but finally, Jet Zero, he really had a great performance running behind that offensive line that Queen City has put together. Only 14 carries, 173 yards, a couple of touchdowns. His long was 76, and he averaged about 12.4 yards a carry, Cam. We've been looking for that all season long. Queen City finally got their running game going, and they pulled out a ironic 33-31 victory over Arizona to match what they did last season at the convention.
You know what I thought was interesting, Mike, in that game? Queen City, when they won the coin toss, they chose to receive. I'm not sure in all the years that I've been doing the SFL that I've seen Queen City receive a coin toss.
Right.
They wanted to avoid a low start or a slow start. They came in with a different mentality into that game, and look at the result. It paid off for the Corsairs, and they're now back in the mix. My last one is going to Tulsa's Corey Jones. This man had 2 touchdowns on just 4 receptions, but more importantly, Mike, we're talking about number 1 draft pick Douglas Brown. Jason France always gets a lot of love. King Rashid's been doing great. Cameron Shaw's been doing good. Just all these different pieces. Gabriel Manning always gets a lot of shine. But Corey Jones, low-key, is having a phenomenal season. He has 8 touchdowns this season, and his career high is 8. And he's been in the SFL since season 8. So Corey's been around a long time, and he is enjoying one of his finer seasons, trying to potentially get a 1,000-yard season together. But Corey was great in that game, a huge deep threat weapon. His 2 touchdowns, the difference in their win over Charleston.
Yeah, great game from Corey. He is basically the unsung hero over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, they have stars all over the field that get mentioned all the time, and Corey kind of, doesn't get mentioned, but he's been doing great over there with Tulsa. And Tulsa, just like Sioux Falls, they've bounced back great. They re-signed a vast majority of that roster from last season, and these guys have responded, Cam. And Corey Jones has been a big key to that, and another great game from him and route to a Tulsa victory.
And that's our game balls.
That's it. That's all we got. We got no more show for you. So we're just going to have to get on out of here. He's Josh Zirkle. I'm Ethan Muslin. We'll see you next time on Crunch Time.